All right, all right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the next installment of the C-Fazz show, which I've decided to call the Anti-Inquisition show, because that is what my handle is normally, and that's probably what I've branded myself as at this point. So, this is the second time I tried recording this because apparently I did not realize that I was recording everything in the preview window, I guess, in the OBS app, which is all right. That's straight for me because now I know what I'm doing basically was more ad lib last time. Not that it really matters, but I figured I'd start with all this because I'm kind of trying to give a glimpse into the religiosity of these people at the top, the aristocracy, the orders, people in government. And of course, I have examples here of Freemasonry and the, I guess, resurrected Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn that Aleister Crowley came out of. So, that note, what we have here, I have a couple things that I need to share in relation to this. And I was getting back into the Dutroux Affair, basically. The Dutroux Affair, quote unquote, as they call it. And I saw a lot of similarities with Epstein and with things of that nature going on. Similarities, parallels, and of course, over there it was a lot worse. I'm sure that Epstein was doing the same things that Dutroux was doing. It just never got publicized for whatever reason. It's probably yet another quote unquote pimp for the system. Just like Black Larry King, not Larry King Live Larry King, but Black Larry King in the 80s with the Boys Town cover up that they call Franklin, but it should be the Boys Town cover up. That's where the call boys were coming from, going into Washington, D.C., being trafficked into the government, basically. And that was on the Republican side. Now, Freemasonry has been around, at least in this form, since the 1700s. It seems to be more of a front group for facilitation of crimes, basically. The facilitation of criminal behavior in government and other places. It reeks of Jesuitism. The Jesuits set it up. A lot of people knew it. Blavatsky knew it. A lot of the people hundreds of years ago knew it when it came out, that was Jesuitism. Came from the Templars. It came from before the Templars, the mystery religions of Babylon. But it flowed through history using the Templars and all these other groups. And Catholicism in nature is a very esoteric, almost pagan religion. I mean, they replaced the pantheon with saints now. So it's basically the same thing. It's just got a facade of Christianity around it because they use the names and all that. And yeah, so I was revisiting the Dutroux debacle, which I will call it the debacle because the affair is just, it's like double speak, like a euphemism for what was going on. Guy basically was procuring children for the rich and shameless. And just like Epstein has been basically accused of, know about some of the older-ish victims, late teens, but I'm sure it gets to Dutroux levels once you really look at it. I'm going to stop talking and let this play because that's what we're going to do. I already went through this hour and a half with this, so hopefully this will be a little bit more punctual than what I was doing there. Since I already basically did a rehearsal. I'm going to hope, I already just double, triple checked that the right video is going out to the right place. So it better work. Oh, man. Yeah. So without further ado, I'm going to figure stuff out. I also need a mouse using a laptop, so I really need a mouse if I'm going to do this. It's very hard to get this thing to work the way I want it to right now. What do we got? We got this puppy. I'm going to let this play, get kind of a gist of some of the stuff going on. I could play all three of them, but definitely something in here. They mentioned the church. I looked into the church. I got a couple things going on with that. I'll try and let you guys know when the time comes after the thing. So, let's see. If that'll work. Oh, we're at the end. We're at the end.
Please visit my website, programtokill.net. Go to plans and prices for even more exclusive information. You can also support me now on Patreon. Add me on TikTok. And leave a like and comment.
Par précaution, les pédophiles montent leurs images amateurs au sein même de cassettes qui, au comble du cynisme, sont en fait destinées aux enfants. Dutroux, cinéaste de l'horreur, a-t-il réalisé ses courts-métrages pour sa propre consommation ou bien est-il le pourvoyeur en cassettes pédophiles d'un réseau beaucoup plus important? La vente d'enfants ou de cassettes alimente-t-elle les comptes bancaires de Marc Dutroux? Certains journaux ont tenté d'établir une relation entre la disparition d'enfants et des versements qui apparaissent sur les comptes de Dutroux. Mais cette hypothèse ne résiste pas à l'analyse. La plupart de ces entrées d'argent s'expliquent par exemple par la vente de propriétés, des prêts bancaires, des vols de voitures et enfin, il semble aujourd'hui établi que Marc Dutroux se livrait également à la vente de drogue.
Il y a d'une part l'apparition de témoignages importants, récentes, et qui font que l'enquête Dutroux devient une enquête qui prend une autre perspective.
All right, I'm going to get to this whole thing in a second, especially having to do with that church that was mentioned. Actually, I'll hit that now. So, this is what we have here. That's part of it. That's not quite what I'm looking for. I don't think we have no, yeah. Talking about the Celestial Church of Christ. Out of Nigeria, it looks like. It's a very strange mix. I want to see if I can find these people again. Let me duplicate this. Yeah, I just did this before. I don't know if this is going to be a disturbance to the household here, but let me see what's going on. All right, so I'm sure you can see all this. Mormonism, that will come into play very shortly. I'd keep the music playing, but then I gotta shut it back off. And yeah, I bet you that's a bot. We shall see. I have somebody, a Facebook friend with the same name. People like to impersonate people already on the friends list. So we'll see what that is. Um, yeah, so I'm looking for this. I think that's it, right? Because I was on their page before. I already did this a couple times. Did this once anyway. So here we go with this, right? So yeah, what I clicked on before.
Name of Jesus. Oh Lord, as we are going inside your sanctuary, Almighty God, let the host of
What is this
heaven
thing?
come down and worship with us today in Jesus' mighty name.
Yeah, what is this right here? Does this look anything like Christian symbology? I mean, Christians don't really need symbology per se. Symbology is an occult thing. It's part of the esoteric doctrines that are so pervasive in the world today. You got yourself an all-seeing eye. You got the crown and the cross. That is reminiscent of these other groups that use the crown and the cross, including but not limited to Templars, Freemasons. Of course, there's a crown over the cross going on a diagonal there, but the same symbology. It's basically talking about that Kether eye, the all-seeing eye, and that little thing. Let's go a little farther into this, because this gets interesting. A little farther into it. Hold on. Yeah, this. What is going on here? What is going on here? I made the observation that you have the males and the females on two different sides. You got like a mirror image thing going on here. You got a crucifix here and a crucifix here. Supposedly Pentecostal, but a lot of Catholic shit going on here. A lot of Catholic symbology. And we got these weird hats here, which are very reminiscent of LDS. Then they do the sign of the cross, sign of the cross. You got the incense, and they're coming out. You got this guy in the middle, swinging it back and forth. This mirror is like the what is it? Yakim and Boaz, the pillars of Yakim and Boaz, embodying both gender and both both gender and the law of polarity when it comes to the Kabbalistic tree of life and all that stuff. Like I had mentioned before, two pillars of mercy and severity are another ubiquitous symbol that is within this. This doesn't look like Christianity. This looks like Freemasonry. I probably played this a little too long last time, so what we're going to do here is we're going to make this one short and sweet. Did have, what did I have? I had a couple other things I was getting into along with that. The manipulation of people through churches, and the manipulation of people and their use as like MK Ultra victim, mind control victim, whatever they use them for. Bring in the celebrities, uh, assassinations, whatever it may be, whatever it may be. Those of you who are going to actually watch this probably already know plethora of utilization of mind control victims on the world stage, stuff like that. So, not going through all that today, but I will get into some of the theology behind it if I can. If I don't have to shut off commentary, I may or may not just do one of them because I already just did this for an hour and a half. It's already 40 minutes. Probably hit that. This this is some strange shit. They were supposedly the church that was involved in the Dutroux Affair, right next to where they were taking kids or whatever they were doing. So I don't know what these guys are. I mean, this is highly, highly, highly hermetic, Masonic, whatever. Why I brought this up, bringing up other pictures of that. All this stuff, I think I got the picture somewhere up here, but relationship between Freemasonry and the hats. I'll bring an actual picture up too. Yeah, the hats are very similar. I mean, I'm trying to get in here. That's right there. That's about as good as we can do here. Okay. Yeah, these things. These looks a lot like these things. Up. Unbelievable. You can see if it's in the history. Because I'm already here. Oh, God. Killing me, killing me, killing me. There it is. Yeah, you got them friggin' hats. Yeah. Those chef hat looking things. Very LDS like. Well, it comes from Freemasonry. Because what's his Buckles was involved with them. Yeah, see? Look at that. Temple endowment. This craziness. And you got people that are more than happy to expose this shit because it's that ridiculous. But let's see if this works. There we go. Yeah, that poor lady, she's like, what the fuck did I just go through? Yeah, I mean, Freemasonry by any other name. Friggin' fag shakes. That why they think they're like friggin' capitulating the temple or something. All symbolic. I've seen her videos. I'm not gonna get too in the weeds here, but yeah. I mean, we're all talking about similar stuff. It's friggin' spin-offs of the same friggin' shit. The grandeur and the stupidity. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. Yeah. Either ways, I'm gonna throw this in there. I'm gonna try and make this. All right, hold on. Not what I wanted. I got everything zoomed in now, so now I gotta zoom out. All right, stand by. No, I'm not live, so that's good. I screwed that up like 4 times now. At least I didn't do it 4 times in a row. I would have just given up by now. Just figured I'd do this a second time. Here, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna listen to this because this has a lot to do with all this SRA shit and basically both to use people, to manipulate them and be able to have mental control over them, to use them for what they like, and also to just have all this shit going on in the world, all this lower dimensional quote unquote shit. They promulgate this stuff. They know how to manipulate people because it's part of this whole body of knowledge. And they're utilizing this knowledge or this doctrine in order to manipulate people and utilize them for their shit, just like they do on a large scale with the propaganda and with the polarization of people. But here, this whole thing is very important. I'll probably skip out on the other one because I don't know how much I'm going to have to jump in here and do commentary, but people are going to sleep now, and I just wanted to get this out there so that this is here, I guess. So it finally gets posted.
Notice that I connect with the Saturn persona more than anything. The one that's always alone right now.
YouTube stuff.
I have a question about the black sun. And I notice that I connect with the Saturn persona more than anything. The one that's always alone, behind the scenes, doing everything on my own. Learning everything alone. I'm even wearing black pants and a shirt right now. I'm really starting to dislike humans and social interactions. I like animals though. I'm even vegan, but really hate people. I have thoughts of most people as lesser creatures, pathetic, and should be exterminated because I think of so many people as useless. I remember your lesson on the sun and remembered you saying something about the black sun. I think it's happening, and the thing is, a part of me doesn't even care if it happens. Alright, so a lot of people are this way, believe it or not, and it's not other people. It's you, bro. But it's not your fault. Let me say that again. It's you, but it's not your fault. Basically what it comes down to is you have an emotional blockage. And you're projecting those feelings for yourself onto other people. As all people do. People who are happy project those feelings of happiness onto other people, and those who are miserable do the same. And because of polarity, those who are happy generally don't like to be around miserable people, and vice versa. Miserable people can't stand to be around happy people either. Everyone's carrying a charge, an emotional charge, and we always try to pass our charge on to other people. Happy people want others to be happy, and miserable people want others to be miserable. In effect, we all want other people to be more like ourselves by having others resonate with us. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we have to realize is that people are by and large programmed to carry on a certain way, and that subconscious programming will dominate the actions of the people every time. In fact, the difference between a magician and regular people is that the magician reprograms his subconscious. That's essentially what occult magic is. By communicating a set of desired instructions to the subconscious to make internal and external changes in accordance with our will. In fact, making the internal changes causes the greatest external changes. As above, so below, as within, so without. Everything in your environment and the things that are coming in your life are a representation of what's going on inside of you. Those feelings of other people being useless are a reflection of your own repressed feelings for yourself. But because of all of our programming, it's not your fault, okay? If you have an emotional blockage, you can't function properly. You're not functioning as you are designed to function. So what alchemical element corresponds with the emotions? Well, water. And what happens when a water pipe is blocked up? Well, it backs up and goes the other direction, doesn't it? It can't get through. So instead of happiness, joy, fulfillment, you're feeling the opposite because it's going the opposite direction. And everything where the emotional block is stagnating, and that's why you say you don't care that it's happening, because all that water that is at the block is stagnating, and you feel dead inside, and you're at risk of attracting negative entities to you and attaching to you because of that stagnation. Negative entities are like mosquitoes who like to land in and breed in stagnating water, the emotions. Now, if your emotional circuit is flowing correctly, those negative entities will have a tough time holding on. They'll be flushed out, like immediately. You won't be having thoughts of exterminating other people. That's the greatest protection against negative entities, in fact. We talked about combining force and form to do our magic, and we said that force is the emotions. So what do you think the forces of darkness are? In Star Wars, what do you think the dark side of the Force is? It's negative emotions. It's emotional blockage that creates negative emotions. And we've gone over the conscious side of the mind is the logical side, and the subconscious side of the mind is the emotional side of the mind, the feeling side of the mind. The subconscious, that side that connects to the divine, and also the one that those entities will come through. So, in order to remove an emotional block, we have to understand what causes an emotional blockage in the first place. And simply put, it's emotional trauma. And typically the earlier the trauma, the more backed up you are, the more difficult the removal. The more recent that somebody hurts your feelings or pisses you off, you get over it after a little bit. But it still adds to the blockage. And these things build up over time. The biggest two are guilt and shame. And it happens to be what our society is built on. Our society loves to play the blame game. Everyone pointing their fingers at everyone else. It's not my fault, it's your fault. I mean, you can't even have an accident, which by the very definition of the word means it's nobody's fault, without somebody being liable for it. Think about that for a minute. The entire system is built up upon minimizing liability and passing the buck. Nobody wants to be responsible for themselves. They all want to blame an external source, which is the complete opposite of what a magician does. Even when I seemingly had a curse put upon me, I still had to go and look at what I had done, possibly to bring this upon myself. Which is why I did an uncrossing for my own actions as well as an uncrossing for those who may have done things to me. I also had to look very carefully at any laws of magic that I may have broken, and I will give you the results of that in the Laws of Magic series coming up here on October 29th, and you can subscribe to that right up here. I'll put the link also in the description. The thing is that people always want to find fault with others due to their own imperfect nature. It's guilt, blame, and shame that does the most damage. You take child molesters or child abusers, which are considered the lowest of the low in society in terms of what somebody can do. And they're so quick to point the finger at the child molester and to punish him. I mean, people want to kill him. But they never think of what the hell is going on with society as a whole. They don't think to punish the victim, that child, who has a pretty good chance of becoming the next victimizer because of that emotional trauma and the emotional blockage that's going to be caused by a lot of today's victims are tomorrow's victimizers, and it's a cycle. I mean, this guy here is thinking of exterminating people. These are the thoughts that are going through his head. Would you rather punish him and point fingers and say, yes, he's bad, or do you want to fix the problem? The problem is easily fixed if you remove that emotional blockage. And I'm not defending child abuse or anything like that. I'm shedding light on the problem and how to solve it. And the first thing you have to realize is that it's not your fault. It's a result of...
So I messed up here. I'm going to have to throw these together, but I did want to jump in and say that by punish, he obviously doesn't mean punish as in punish the victim instead of the abuser. He means that all that energy needs to be purged out of the child before he offends again. This whole cycle abuse situation we have covered ad nauseum, especially people that I know. Cerruti and his whole team has covered that ad nauseum, and I'm sure many, many, many other people have. Hopefully, I don't know. I just pressed the stop recording button because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw these together. We're going to finish this clip, and then I'm going to throw these two together in whatever, friggin' Premiere, and then I will get it out there. But we will make sure this finishes. They know this information. They know this information, obviously, because it's their religion. These people are very friggin' religious, okay? The elite and people in the government, people in high positions, corporations, whatever, wherever they are, high positions, billionaires, they all know all this shit. And the ones that are really, really bad, like the Jesuits and high Masons and all that, they know how to manipulate people using this. I'm going to let this play and then I'm going to stop it and throw that together and get something up. And then I will discuss the one after this tomorrow. Because I'm not doing this a third time and I'm not going crazy with the friggin' having to edit shit and all this. I will get this down pat. So we'll have something a little more coherent. I'm just going to let this play now. So.
But the programming that went into you, I mean, how can it be? You were programmed as a little child with the values of your parents and other people that have maybe influenced you to think a certain way. You've watched TV your entire life, listened to radio, had subliminal messages pumped into you through movies, entertainment. You've been indoctrinated through an education system to think a certain way. I mean, you've all watched that Bob Proctor video that I went into when I first started this channel, and he talked about the subconscious mind being programmed. Since you were born, it's been constantly programmed. And if you realize this, you can understand how it's not your fault. The subconscious mind will override the conscious actions of the individual each and every time. And it's a big reason of why the scripture tells you not to judge other people, and why the New Testament emphasizes forgiveness. But in order to forgive those other people that may have caused you that emotional trauma, you have to forgive yourself first. It's not your fault, okay? And don't be so concerned with those other people that you're hating on. Be concerned with your own problems that you have right now, which is getting rid of that emotional blockage. Otherwise, nothing's going to change for you. That's why earlier I showed that clip in Good Will Hunting where Sean, played by Robin Williams, was telling Will, played by Matt Damon, that it's not his fault. I mean, here was a guy who was abused by his father, which is obviously not his fault, but yet he carries that burden around with him and had that emotional blockage. And that's exactly what it was. It was an emotional blockage that he was carrying around because he had guilt and shame of those events in his life. You have to let it go because it's not your fault. The one in the movie, Good Will Hunting, was obviously not his fault. But whatever it is that you're carrying around with you and what other people may have done to you and made you feel, it's not your fault, okay? Let it go. I would post that clip again in this video, but I got a copyright notice for it the last time, and so I'm just going to link to that here. And I want you to watch that over and over and over again, because that's exactly what he had to do. He had to tell Will, Robin Williams' character had to tell him over and over again that it was not his fault until it finally got through to his subconscious and he was able to immediately remove that emotional blockage. And then afterwards, he was happy again. Lo and behold, he could function again without sabotaging his relationships with other people from his bitterness and anger, you know, the dark side of the force. As Yoda would say, feel the force flow through you. He uses the word flow. Water, emotions, it's got to flow. And flow it will once that emotional blockage is removed. I mean, I don't care what's been done to you or through you. And I guarantee you that entities have done things through you if you've had an emotional blockage. You simply can't function properly with an emotional blockage. Not the way that you were intended to function. Not the way that you were designed. So that's my prescription. I mean, I gave you the answer last time, but I didn't thoroughly explain it. Is to watch that clip over and over again, and while doing so, imagine that Sean, Robin Williams' character, is speaking to you and all the things that you're holding on to until you let it go like Will does. And you'll know because you'll feel all that burden and heaviness just simply flow away. And refrain from thinking that you're too tough to cry, because all that is an emotional release. See, we've been programmed again that grown men don't cry. That's programming. Again, force, emotions, water, tears, release. So you need to watch that until your results are the same as Will's, Matt Damon's, in that clip. It may take you several times, and this may not be the only instance that you need to do this, because just because it's been unclogged once doesn't mean that it can't get re-clogged again. Everything's an input and an output system, and if you're not allowing the output, the outflow, then things are going to back up and be blocked. So you have to let it all go. Let that stagnant water out, because stagnant water turns mucky and dirty and nasty. So that's why you're feeling that way. So just let it go, man. It's not your fault. And next time we're going to get into how this ties into the religious experience. Because when this is done properly and that emotional blockage is removed, you're going to feel so great that it's going to be impossible for you to hate anybody.
All right, I think that's good with that. So I'm gonna have to put these together and burn it as a separate thing now because I pressed the wrong button. That's mostly due to my shot ass. So hopefully I could get this down pat. I really need an actual mouse, so I'm gonna figure that out too. But yeah, I don't think I would dare try and use this to go live at this point because I can barely make a video with it right now. And um, I mean, shouldn't have this much trouble. I mean, I used to do video editing professionally, so I used to do like the actual switchboard. I mean, that would be a little easier. I'd at least know what I'm doing. I don't know why I couldn't figure out that the preview was a preview. And the setup's a little strange here. I mean, let's zoom in, and then I don't even know. I don't really understand what we're doing here with I'm gonna have to explore this a little more. I'm gonna have to explore it a little more. And to run scripts on here. Either ways, I'm gonna put this together. I might come back and do no voice and hit Dutroux again from Johnny Cerrucci's Eaters of Children. Holy crap. Can I talk today? That would be great. All right, so we're gonna get out of here, and then I'm gonna put this together and attempt to upload it because I already had the other one uploaded, and then I realized that I was flip-flopped with the windows. One of them's for preview, others for scene, which I should have known. I mean, it was a stupid mistake, but now we have a more condensed version, I guess. So here we go.